Is this thing on? I think it's on. Greetings, brothers and sisters. Welcome to Master Race Frankenstein Radio. Today we're reading New Governments in Europe. So I know this book from Cultured Thug. Cultured Thug many years ago made a video called Good Books for Bad Goys. And this is one of the books that he recommended. And I looked it up and I was able to find a copy. Dude, are you kidding me? Dude, get out of my way. Dude, no. Get out of my way. It was like $30 on eBay. So here we are. New governments in Europe, the trend toward dictatorship. These are the people who wrote it. Hey, Simon. He got in a scuffle. You look at Mr. Scuffle. Okay. A publication of the Foreign Policy Association Incorporated, 1934. What does that mean to y'all, 1934? No. We're not cuddling right now. I got reading to do. You go. Okay. So it begins with fascist Italy. I'm going to skip that right now. That's not what we're reading right now. We're coming to it. All right, so we're going to learn about the Nazi Revolution in Germany. And this was written before there were any war crimes or any crimes at all to speak of. Before the history that we all know of was made, there was just the establishment of the Nazi rule. Let's learn about it. Sorry for the lighting, but you're here for the words. The Nazi Revolution in Germany, Chapter 1. The Rise of German Nationalism. The Hitler Third Reich is now an accomplished fact. Both democratic forms and terroristic methods have been used to destroy the Weimar Republic and set up a fascist dictatorship. The National Socialist German Workers' Party rules supreme in Germany, for after a year in office, Hitler and his lieutenants have dissolved or coordinated all other political parties. Germany has been completely unified. All opposition has been ruthlessly suppressed, and the ground has thus been cleared for the practical application of Nazi principles. Boy, the camera is like really shaky, isn't it? Let's see. At the Reichstag election, hold on, let's see. I'm going to use these duckies to keep the page from turning. You know what a duck is? At the Reichstag election on March 5th, 1933, more than 17 million Germans, comprising 44% of the electorate, cast their votes for the National Socialist Party, thus giving expression to an unparalleled unanimity of opinion in a country noted for particularist sentiment. These 17 million voters were drawn primarily from three sources: the youth of Germany, who have come of age since the war, former supporters of the numerous conservative small bourgeois parties, and previous non-voters who were roused from political lethargy by economic disaster and National Socialist propaganda. Let me tell you this real quick. This book was my biggest inspiration back when I was like a political type, when I thought that politics was the way, because it shows us how they did it. And when you see how it was done, you're going to think, Wow, we could do that. It's so simple. Let's see, did I finish this page? Yes, I did. Despite the thoroughness and effectiveness of Nazi agitation, the success of the movement can be. Let me say this also. This is for educational purposes only. And I disavow Nazism. Anybody who's been around for a little bit knows that. Despite the thoroughness and effectiveness of Nazi agitation, the success of the movement can only be explained by the psychological, physical, and material suffering which the German people have undergone during the past 2 decades. The ideology and philosophy of the movement, however, have their roots far in the past. It is not only a mass protest against the hardships endured during and since the war, it is also a form of self-vindication for a people which, although trained and educated in a militarized state, were defeated in a great war. It is at the same time a national attempt to escape from the harsh realities of the present by resurrecting many of the attributes of the past which to a suffering people seems glorious in retrospect, and by introducing an undefined socialism which shall solve present-day economic and social problems. In considering the present resurgence of German nationalism, it must be remembered that the Germans were the last great people to achieve national unity, and that the centuries-long history of the small kingdoms and principalities which made up the so-called Germanies was the record not of a united people of Prussians, Saxons, Bavarians, and others. Even after Bismarck had founded the empire in 1871, local patriotism was still predominant. The self-conscious nationalism which marked Imperial Germany in the decades before the World War must be regarded as the manifestation of a people politically united but not sufficiently unified to take its national patriotism for granted. The mission of the German people. The movement for German political unity, which finally bore fruit in 1871, had been profoundly influenced by German intellectuals, historians, philosophers, and writers. The poetry of the... What the heck? Oh, yeah, my ducks. The poetry of the Romanists. The poetry of the Romanists and the theories of the state expounded by Kant and Hegel had. I hate that. Let's see if I crack my fingers. If we can steady this camera. Is it this terrible in my other videos? Gee whiz, what in the world? Okay. All right. I need my ducks. I need to employ my ducks. Jeez, where'd you go? I'm like the worst streamer. I'm the worst streamer ever. Okay, I'll use my wallet. Okay, hold on. Kant and Hegel had a large share in developing the spirit of patriotic nationalism, which finally won the Battle of Leipzig in 1813 and liberated Prussia. Furthermore, the philosopher Fichte, in his Reden an die Deutsche Nation, had set forth an exalted conception. This is just bad. This is bad. Set forth an exalted conception of the character and mission of the Germans, and put forward the idea of a geographically isolated and economically self-sufficient community as the ideal nation. Hey, all tuning in, feel free to look away, set your phone down, and hear the words of the book, because this seems to be as steady as I can keep the camera pretty far out. Hegel particularly had glorified the state, declaring that the state is God on earth. He pictured mankind as progressing through the ages steadily but unconsciously toward the Germanic perfection of the 19th century. The German historians, meanwhile, developed the doctrine of the great mission of the German people and became leaders of nationalist thought. Histories lauding the Hohenzollers, the glories of the German medieval period, German prowess in the Crusades, and the deeds of the Teutonic Knights contributed to nationalist fervor and did much to convince the Germans that Prussia and the Hohenzollerns were charged with a special mission. The founding of the University of Berlin gave impetus to the development of glorious national history, past, present, and future, supported by the Hegelian theory of the state. Most Prussian historians shared Hegel's belief that civilization is spread only by war, and that the triumph of civilization demanded the suppression of races less capable of or less advanced in culture by nations of a higher order. War and the doctrine of force thus became the embodiment of progress to many Germans. In addition to this glorification of the state and of force, a new science of... Hey, look, y'all in the chat, should I keep doing this or should I read this into like my nice microphone and like make an audiobook out of it? Do y'all like this format of me with my shaky camera pointing at the page? The idea is for you to be like, look, it is the book. Behold the book. But I feel like this kind of sucks. I'm gonna read until I get some feedback. Let's see, in addition to this glorification of the state of force, a new science of race aided German nationalists in explaining the superiority of the German race over all others. The publication in 1854 of a work by a Frenchman, Count Joseph Arthur de Gobineau, entitled Essai sur... Hey, Shujin. Feedback, please, on whether I should continue this format of shaking the camera at the book as I read, or should I hold my horses and record a nice audio book? Because I have a good mic that y'all have never heard before. Hey, Tristan. Oh, well, thank you for listening, my brother. I mean, if you have a preference, let me know. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep reading. Thank you all for the feedback. The publication in 1854 of a work by a Frenchman, Count Joseph Arthur de Gobineau, entitled Essai sur Shujin, don't make fun of me. L'inégalité des races humaines did much to... Okay, cool. Dude, I don't know how it is. I don't feel like my hands aren't like... This is like a late model iPhone. It's super sensitive. The theories of Gobineau, moreover, furnish the scientific background for the anti-Semitism which forms a part of the intense Nazi nationalism. According to Gobineau, racial questions overshadow all other problems of history and hold the key to them. The inequality of races from whose fusion a people is formed explains the whole course of human destiny. Gobineau argued, in further asserting the inherent superiority of the Aryan race, he held that racial degeneration was the inevitable result of the mixture of Aryans with inferior races. This mystical glorification of Aryanism decisively influenced the growth of race vanity in Germany and the increasingly evident spirit of imperialism manifested after 1890. You know what I like about having the camera on the book is that you can see how everything is spelled, and I can just glance down at the sources like this, and you can further your research if you choose to. Gobineau paved the way for the work of an Englishman. Houston Stewart Chamberlain, whose Grundlegend des Nuens and Jarhen Discourse appeared in 1899. Chamberlain's main thesis was the assertion of the superiority of the Teuton family over all the other races of the world. The awakening of the Teutonic peoples, the awakening of the Teutonic peoples, he wrote, to the consciousness of their. See, if I have something holding the page down, I could steady the camera with both hands. He wrote, to the consciousness of their all-important vocation and culture forms the turning point in the history of Europe. Chamberlain's book was widely read and discussed in Germany. It became a bestseller and was popular with the Kaiser, who is said to have financed the distribution of thousands of copies. It is impossible to estimate the extent to which such works as those of Gobineau and Chamberlain actually influenced historical events, but they were doubtless of considerable importance in nourishing German national egotism. Mystical, abstract principles have always appealed to the German mind and have played a considerable role in German political life, as evidenced by the fact that all German parties in their official platforms outline the broad philosophical basis of party dogma rather than policies on specific questions. Whether or not these theories had great influence on the German people before 1914, they established a most convenient foundation for Allied propaganda during the war and provided moral justification for the Versailles Treaty, particularly the War Guilt Article. Evolution of the National Socialist Party. It will be recalled that the first post-war years in Germany were marked by the blackest disillusionment and discouragement. The Allied blockade, which was not lifted until after the signature of the peace treaty, increased the suffering of a people already starving and in the grip of a revolution. The former German rulers had abdicated and the Kaiser had fled to Holland. The untried social democratic leaders who had taken over the government were faced with the necessity not only of saving the country from Bolshevism, but of setting up a new democratic state. Added to this was the dislocation entailed by the demobilization of the German army. It was only with the aid of former officers of the Imperial Army that this demobilization was carried through and the left revolution was crushed, while officials of the old regime stuck to their posts and carried on their administration of the country. As a result, the Republic incurred a large debt to these officials and officers, despite the fact that many of them paid only lip service to the new regime and, as time went on, became openly antagonistic. The seeds of counter-revolution were thus being planted even before the legal establishment of the Republic at Weimar on August 11th, 1919. The Republic also received a staggering blow in the Versailles Treaty. The German people, expecting a peace settlement based on Wilson's 14th points, were... What were they? Do you mind if I interchangeably pronounce W's as V's and V's as W's? Thunderstruck. They were thunderstruck by the terms of a treaty which imposed huge reparation demands, losses of German territory, occupation of the Rhineland, and unilateral disarmament of the Reich. Oh, no. The moral condemnation expressed in Article 231 of the treaty, which was interpreted as placing the entire responsibility for the war on Germany and its allies, the Reich's loss of its colonies, and the ground of German maladministration, and the demand that the so-called war criminals be turned over to the Allies for trial, all seemed incomprehensible to the German people who had believed Wilson's pronouncements. As a result, the Weimar Republic was inextricably associated in popular opinion with the humiliation and disappointment engendered by the Versailles Treaty. The stab in the back legend. So something interesting about calling it a legend. When I think of legend, I think of the portion of a map which has symbols which help you to navigate the map. So by calling the stab in the back a legend is giving credence to it, saying that by knowing this, you will recognize how things happened. Am I down here? No, I'm right here. Look, I'm getting lost. Here it is. The stab in the back legend, so carefully nurtured by the Nazis, according to which the Weimar coalition of social democrats, Catholic centrists, and Democrats which founded the Republic was held responsible for the German defeat, was thus strengthened. Catholic centrists. What do y'all know about them? During the years 1919 through 1923, while the struggling young republic was endeavoring to consolidate its position and pull the Reich out of the chaos caused by war and revolution, its major task lay in the field of foreign affairs and was concerned primarily with the reparation problem. This was the period of Allied ultimata, rejection of German counter-proposals, Allied sanctions in the form of occupation of more German cities, increasingly strict customs control, and recurring abortive reparation conferences. Meanwhile, the German mark sank deeper in the mire of inflation. In January 1923, the Frenchmen and Belgians occupied the Ruhr. Germany countered with measures of passive resistance, and by autumn of that year, the value of the mark had sunk to zero. Gee whiz. And the life savings of the German lower middle class were wiped out. Furthermore, man, think about this. Think about the pretense of that war and the consequences of it for Germany. Begouch! That's all I have to say about it. Furthermore, the Rhineland separatist movement, supported by the French, seemed for a time to threaten the very unity of the Reich. Under these circumstances, it was all too easy to win support for an extreme nationalist movement of protest. This was particularly true in Bavaria, which, after the murder of Kurt Eisner in Munich in February 1919 and the relatively short-lived Soviet interregnum which followed, had become the headquarters of German monarchist and militarist reaction. The brief Bavarian Revolution episode had burned itself into the memory of the bourgeoisie. Anti-Semitism has been strong in Bavaria ever since, for the conservatives blame all their troubles on the fact that Eisner and other revolutionaries were Jews. Let's see. During the first post-war years, moreover, Germany was a veritable camp of so-called volunteer corps, free corps, composed of unemployed former officers and soldiers, many of which had their headquarters in Bavaria. These groups were extra-legal, and although ostensibly organized only for defense purposes, were most reactionary in character. Their influence may be traced through the Kapp Push in 1920, the murders of Erzberger and Rathenau, as well as the many other political murders which marked the early years of the Republic. It was in such troublous, that's a word. It was in such troublous times that the national what? We shall see. Socialist Party had its obscure birth. The party grew out of a group of 6 men who met during 1919 in a small back room of a Munich cafe. Adolf Hitler joined the group as its 7th member. That's very interesting. Just the 7th member. If I'm not mistaken, Zan is the 7th Hebrew letter, and the swastika is composed of 2 Zan. Adolf Hitler joined the group as its 7th member and almost immediately became its leading personality. In the autumn of 1919, these men founded the National Socialist German Workers' Party in Munich. Among the earliest members were some of the leaders of the volunteer corps, notably General von Epp and Captain Rome. The latter, who had close connections with the Reichswehr, brought into the party many of his friends, both officers and men, with the result that up to 1923, these army men were apparently the backbone of the movement. Rome is also reported to have been an important liaison officer between the volunteer corps and the militarist clubs and groups. Ververbande, a forge, which apparently furnished many recruits for the Reichswehr as well as for the Nazis. Meanwhile, Hitler, by tireless speech-making, gained further supporters, and by the end of 1920, his party had 3,000 members. Wow. By November 1923, there were 5,000 paying members of the National Socialist Party. That's pretty far out. And you know what? He didn't do this online. He went out into the real world and he talked to people. Hitler's beer hall push. Hitler and his party first came into the limelight in 1923. By that time, Hitler had attracted the attention of General Ludendorff and the latter's nationalist followers. The crisis caused by the occupation of the Ruhr and the attendant growth of ultranationalist sentiment in Germany seemed to offer the psychological moment for Hitler's push. On November 9th, 1923, the combined forces of Hitler and Ludendorff attempted a coup d'etat in Munich under Hitler's leadership, but it missed fire entirely, it says. The attempt has gone down in history as the beer hall push. As a result of this attempted coup, Hitler was arrested, and on April Fool's Day, 1924, he was sentenced to 5 years imprisonment for treason. During his imprisonment, his followers had, against his will, joined forces with another extremist group, the German People's Freedom Party, the Deutsche Völkische Freiheitsparty, which managed to elect 32 members of the Reichstag at the general election on May 4th, 1924. Hitler was released at the end of 1924. And, interesting, this is 101 years ago. And at once renewed his political activity. In February 1925, he reorganized the National Socialist Party and assumed leadership over both this party and the German People's Freedom Party. After the stabilization of the Mark, Germany enjoyed a period of comparative recovery and prosperity from 1924 to 1928, although even then there was considerable unemployment. It was during this period that the great influx of foreign loans to Germany took place. Moreover, this was the area of improved international relations. The Dawes Plan, Locarno, of Germany's entrance into the League of... Let's steady on this for a second for you. The League of what? They entered into the League of Nations. And the partial evacuation of the Rhineland. The domestic political situation was reflected in the results of the 1928 Reichstag election, when the moderate Social Democratic Party made large gains. The middle bourgeoisie groups held their own fairly well, and the communists showed only a small, though steady growth. The nationalists, however, lost 30 seats, and the Nazis, who in December 1924 election had dropped from 32 to 14, elected only 12 deputies in 1928. These 4 years of comparatively prosperous times proved to be merely a lull before the storm. German economic improvement, which was part of prevailing world prosperity, had, however, been made possible largely by the great amounts of foreign capital, much of it borrowed at short term, which had not only helped create an illusion of prosperity, but made it possible for the Reich to meet and transfer its reparation obligations. Nevertheless, Germany's reparation creditors meeting in Paris. Y'all know who Paris is? Y'all ever heard of that guy from the story of the Trojan War? Hey, did you know that Paris is cognate with parish and Pharisee and Farsi? Y'all know about cognates? Nevertheless, Germany's reparation creditors meeting in Paris early in 1929 drafted the Young Plan, which replaced the Dawes Plan in 1924. The new arrangement was predicated on the continuation and expansion of world prosperity. Yeah, look into that. Look up Paris, which is a character from the Trojan War. It's cognate with Pharisee and parish. Interesting thing, that. The World Depression, which began even before the Young Plan had gone into effect, nullified the financial advantages which the Reich expected to derive from the plan, and eventually caused its demise for all practical purposes. German acceptance of the Young Plan, however, had freed the Rhineland from foreign occupation 5 years before the date stipulated in the Versailles Treaty. But when the evacuation of the Rhineland took place in June 1930, Germany was already in the grip of the Depression. As a result, the salutary effects expected from the Rhineland liberation were not realized. On the contrary, the Hitler movement, of which little had been heard during the preceding years of relative prosperity, suddenly came once more into the limelight. Hitler had cooperated with the nationalist leader, Hugenberg, in the plebiscite on the Young Plan, which was held late in 1929. On November 25th, at the first poll, 1,135,300 votes were cast by Nazis and nationalists, or only 0.02% more than the 10% of qualified voters necessary to force the Reichstag to introduce a bill against the Young Plan. The Reichstag rejected this bill on November 29th by the overwhelming majority. Excuse me, I'm getting dry. By an overwhelming majority. And when the actual plebiscite took place on December 22nd, only 5,825,082 votes, or less than 1/3 of the number necessary to prevent acceptance of the Young Plan, were cast by the combined forces of Hitler and Hugenberg. Economic depression fosters National Socialism. All right, I'm going to try to keep going for another half hour, y'all. The fact that the Nazis and nationalists together polled less than 6 million votes at the end of 1929 makes the success of Hitler at the Reichstag election on September 14th, 1930, the more striking. Less than a year after the Young Plan plebiscite, the Nazis alone rolled up 6,401,210 votes and elected 107 members of the Reichstag. The Hugenberg nationalists received only 2,458,497 votes, or slightly more than half their 1928 following. The Nazi landslide had begun. So, where this gets really interesting is whenever it gets into propaganda and seeing how the Nazis were just great at distributing propaganda. The length that they went to communicate. This is what propaganda is. It's communication. The length that they went to communicate with the people is just amazing. So it gets better. I know it's a bit of a bore fest right now. There were three principal causes for the tremendous Nazi increase. In the first place, the deepening depression had already thrown 3 million people out of work by September 1930. Second, the inner political difficulties in the Reich created an increasing distrust and antipathy for the Republic and parliamentary government. The Reichstag, with its multiplicity of parties, seemed incapable of coping with the complex economic and financial problems confronting the country. While the situation of the German people grew progressively worse, both of these factors contributed to the third cause of Nazi growth, the success of the untiring agitation of the Hitlerites themselves. Between the autumn of 1929 and September 1930, the National Socialists staged meeting after meeting. During the fortnight before the September elections, the Volkisch Beobachter, official organ of the party, listed some 3,300 meetings. Many of these were held in small, out-of-the-way villages where few, if any, political gatherings had been held before. Hitler's stalwarts, clad in their brown uniforms, toured the countryside in trucks, unceasingly addressing the peasants and farm workers. Take notes. In many small villages, these meetings, well advertised beforehand, were much like a traveling circus to the inhabitants. The stage management of all Nazi gatherings has been dramatic in the extreme. Flags, bands, the marching of uniformed men appealed to a people which react en masse to the spectacular, especially in a republic singularly devoid of colorful ceremonies which had succeeded an empire with all its pomp and circumstance of kings, princes, courts, and army. I don't know, maybe I'll stop there for now. And we'll pick up next time on chapter 2. Who goes there? There's only one of you left with me. Okay, so why were the Nazis successful? Why was the Nazi revolution successful? Because, well, let me find a word for it. Hey, Shujin. They were relentless in their cause. They did not tire. They gained momentum more and more. They communicated with people in every which way that they could think. They got in front of people. They didn't just see problems. They saw solutions. And they took their solutions to the poor people of Germany and made them believe. It brought them solutions. And they were like, good God, these men, first of all, to organize people, what a tremendous feat to organize people by the hundreds, much less by the thousands. And it's so easy. It seems easy, doesn't it? It's easier said than done. It's all about not tiring. It's all about having faith in what you're doing. Have faith in God above all things. If what you do is righteous, then God is at the heart of it. And, it's all about sacrifice. These men sacrificed themselves for their people. And it paid off. It paid off. There's a lot to be said about what preceded all of this. Here's the thing, though. How do you How do you control a thing when it gets very big? This is where I differ. This is where I differ with politics. Centralizing power will not work because centralized power is going to corrupt. The reason that it worked is because people were sacrificing themselves for one another. It was very much like Christianity. It was very much like Christian. So, National Socialism, as it was done in Germany, as I understand it, was much in the way of the decree of Jesus Christ. What you think about that? I know y'all are used to me saying different things about Nazis. I don't know. Every time I say the word Nazi, I see N-A-S-I, N-A-S-I. But this book, it talks about the rise of fascism in Italy. It talks about the rise of Nazism in Germany and of communism in Russia. Yeah, Shujin, it's complicated. I'm inclined to think I want to say that Nazism was righteous and then had been corrupted, because you know that I think that it was corrupt. But it cannot be denied that it had saving power, that the German people were in the yoke of communism. That's what the Weimar Republic was. It was communist Germany. I can't imagine someone arguing that Hitler did not save Germany from communists. What it is the war. The war. But Hitler, here's the thing, Hitler didn't want war. Hitler didn't want war. Shujin, the esoteric inspiration behind Nazism and the black magic in which Adolf Hitler bathed daily. What do you mean by black magic? How do you suppose he was involved in black magic? So, here's the thing. How about Shujin says, I guess they should have followed Steiner instead of Hitler. Should have followed Jesus Christ. So this is why I say Nazism is a psyop. I mean, you have this, aside from NASI and NAZI, it's because Adolf Hitler blamed Jews. He did what he did in the name of God, and he blamed the Jews. Here's the thing. Their identity as Jews is fallacious. Revelations 2:9 and 3:9. Romans 2:18 through 19. It says all throughout the New Testament, it is explained to us, those who say they are Jews are not Jews. A Jew is somebody who glories in God and not in man. And so for you to say, in the name of God, and then blame the Jews, this just reveals to me that you either ignore or do not know the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so, I don't know, where did Nazi Germany go wrong? They should have stayed out of, they should have, the Lebensraum, that's where they went wrong. That's where they went wrong. That's where they went wrong. By leaning on the military, you got to be, and here's the thing, the enemies of mankind who have been more successful than anyone else on earth, because the world belongs to the devil. They have achieved what they did and continue to this day through subtlety, right? I mean, they're subtle in what they do. That's why they were successful. So what makes you think, Hitler, that you could just go forcefully have Poland and have it your way and have your leg room? If you know the Bible, Mr. Hitler, you ought to know that the devil is the prince of this world and he in control of all this. It's complicated, man. You Nazis are mad at me, I know. I know you're not mad. I know you're not mad. It's just complicated. You know, I can't help but notice that Hitler disregards the New Testament in the name of Jesus Christ. That don't make sense. That makes me suspicious. That makes me suspicious. Well, yeah, you're right. Bible wasn't his core. Bible wasn't his core. So it's like, is there anyone else on earth who says this and that in the name of God who the Bible's not their core? Yeah. Their name is spelled Nasi, and it's pronounced Nazi. And it's the leader of the Sanhedrin. And so I think Hitler was a Nazi. I think he was a psyop. Maybe not the movement itself, because I mean, you have real things on earth which are given names that, frankly, I mean, what does the devil do? Let me put my phone down. The devil does that, right? He flips things upside down to make things so confusing. He drops us into the maze, makes us face the freaking Minotaur. All right, let me check out chat. Got my boys Shujin and Forged Lloyd. Catharism, I don't know what that is. Jean-Michel Engelbert wrote a great book about that. Thank you. Steiner more aligned with Jesus, though I'm saying that on the esoteric path, Steiner is closer to white magic, if you look at it that way. I'm not sure what you mean by white magic. I mean, so magic being manifesting, right? Which is literally doing anything. Me making this video is magic, right? I conceived of the video and then I made it happen. Magic is you conceive of a thing and then you manifest it. People don't know that though. People don't know. People just think it's a ooh. And black magic is whenever you manifest something through deceit and cunning. So what is white magic? Just the power of God? The power of the Spirit? Shujin says, in the core of it, they went wrong. Where could you be more precise? Where do you think they went wrong at the core? Look up the Albigensian Crusade. Albigensian Crusade. I don't have my other phone on hand, but I will. These guys believed they were descendant of the Perfecti, killed that day by Pope Innocent III. Can't make this up. It is a bit of a nuanced topic, I know. Nishi does that as well. Shujin brings up Nishi. I realized a thing the other day. Nishi, it just sounds like the word nescience, which is not science. Science being knowledge, meaning not. Nescience is not knowing. And the dude's name is Nishi. The New Testament is one of the worst literary crime of all time, paraphrasing, but that's Nietzsche. You know, I want to see what old Fred had to say about the New Testament being a literary crime. I agree and disagree. Here's the thing. The written word is a crime against humanity. It is black magic. The written word entirely. There's no such thing as an uncorrupt version of the Bible, Old Testament or New. Here's another thing that I noticed. So y'all check this out. 2 Corinthians 3. Excuse me. Paul explains that we are the epistles written in our hearts, right? In the flesh. I can't help but recognize the similarity between the word epistle and the word apostle. We are the epistles. That really, it speaks to the needlessness of the scripture, of the Bible, Old Testament and New. So the New Testament was actually prophesied by Malachi. Malachi 3:16. A book of remembrance, it is called. But here's the thing, it's all in our heart, written not with ink, not in stone, in our hearts, by the Holy Spirit, in our hearts. We are the epistles in the flesh. You, my brothers and sisters, you are epistles. Whenever a person is saved and sent to another person, they are an epistle from Jesus Christ. And then someone said, let's call it an apostle. Change the letter. That's magic spelling. All evil is inversion. I agree with you, Mr. Forge. Steiner made up the precursor to biological agriculture. Biologic agriculture. That is an interesting phrase. Biologic agriculture. Soul harvesting. Biologic agriculture. The Aleph, the transmutation of God into the ox, which tills the earth. See, I don't know nothing about no Steiner. Biodynamic agriculture. Steiner just as well. The core of it is envy and resentment. I mean, that says a lot. Envy and resentment's really, that's all the devil's about. I mean, think about the story of the fall of the devil. Envy and resentment. Amen. Forge Lloyd, they know a lot, but the fact that it isn't directly facing the spirit and tackling everything that way is all the evidence you need. It's a psyop, I'm going to be honest. Dude, what isn't a psyop? What? Okay, I was going to say, how can you tell what isn't a psyop? You know a tree by its fruits. These simple things from the scripture, which we know in our hearts. We don't need the scripture. Steiner's core was love from my reading of it. Adhering to a way of living that tries to substitute true spiritual justification with some genetic or worldly one. Amen, Mr. Lloyd. Psyop. Is that like a golem baby farm? Yep. Oh, Shujin, are you saying that Forge Lloyd has just described the biodynamic agriculture? This is a fun talk, y'all. I've missed talking to y'all. All right, it's time to go pace. Time to go pace around. Oh, okay. Shujin said no. All right, well, I'm going to start reading from this occasionally. I need to get rid of the internal monologue. It has entered into me, and I've been thinking too much. Did y'all see me talk to, what's his name, Casper, Mr. Bond, Casper? And he had brought up the evil of the internal monologue. The internal monologue is sin crouching at your door. The internal monologue is the serpent. It gets in my way. I've started thinking again. like just when not thinking in order to do, but just idly. And that's not good. In one way, I've been thinking about YouTube. Forge Lloyd and I had planned to go live together. And then I got in my own way, Forge. I hope you emailed me. I got my own way, feeling like I was being roped back into chronic YouTubeism, chronic YouTube use. I need to just not try. I need to not try to not use YouTube chronically. I need to just go with the flow, right? Go with the flow. So there's a word in the New Testament, theon. Theos is the accusative form. It means to do. So you have two words which are translated into English as, excuse me. I beg your pardon. They are translated as God. Technically three. You have theon, theos, and you have logos. Logos being logic, being thought, and then theon being to do. So the power of God is to conceive of a thing and then do it. When you're just thinking, you just get in your way. You need to do the thing. Do it. You got to do the thing, which means shut up and do the thing. And quit thinking about it. Just like this. I've never live streamed me reading. I really didn't feel like it. I understand Tony more and more. I was really kind of powering through reading that. I feel weak. I feel zapped. I felt that way for like the past week. And I think of something that I want to do, but then I just keep thinking about it and I talk myself out of it. And I'll tell you the truth, my friends. Forge Lloyd, time to become a better man. Oh, Shujin, you're making are you making me a Sonichu pendant? Become a better man. What does that mean? I need to not think about it. Stop thinking about it, Julian. Let's see, I'll have a seat right here. Sit back right here. Corozo, does that mean heart? Here's the thing, and I'm sick of holding my phone. I don't know what I'm doing. When I deleted my channel, I knew what I was doing. Where's the camera? Is that it? When I deleted my channel, I knew what I was doing. And now I don't know what I'm doing. And I think it's because I'm thinking too much. I need to become a better man too. Like I've said recently, I have fallen backward into a pattern of prolonged sinning. I started changing my diet, and I just feel weak. I drink a lot of milk, and I eat a lot of yogurt and nuts and salad and some chicken. And I thought that was healthier, but I just feel weak. And I'm still sinning. And it's not that, we always go sin, but I've been finding repentance to be hard. You know why I think that is, though? Because I've been alone. I think I need to learn how to be alone. But here's the thing. Jesus is our unity. Perfection is only in Christ, and Christ is only in our unity. But that being said, and I'm still married and all that, but I've been made alone for a period of time. And I need to be still. I need to be still. I need to overcome. I need to do. You know what happens when we think about things and we don't do anything? We're idling. We become idol worshipers. You worship the YouTube. You worship the food. You worship the whatever. You're idling. Got to do. I feel good when I get up and I clean my house. I go straighten up my yard. I feel good. We painted. I taught my sons how to paint. That felt good. Felt good painting my son's room. Their rooms are side by side. I cut out a portal in their closet connecting their rooms. It's like 3.5 feet tall. That felt good. I need to frame it now. But I don't know what I'm doing, and it's supposed to be that way. I need to get out of this mind frame that I have to know what to do, and I have to just do things as it comes to me. Such is the power of God. I need to repent and obey. And what is obedience? Obedience is knowing that 2 weeks ago, I moved everything off of the left side of my balcony to the right side of my balcony, and I pressure washed a quarter of it, and I need to go pressure wash the rest of it. But I haven't. For no reason except that I've been lazy. And here I am. I'm saying it out loud. I'm recognizing it. I'm sharing it with you. I need to do it. So I guess that's what I'm going to go do. Brothers and sisters, do something. So instead of worrying that I'm falling into a habit, I'm going to stop worrying. What is there to worry about? I'm here. I've been put on YouTube. We have each other. I want to talk to you. I have things to show you. You have things to say to me. We need each other. We're here for a reason. I wrote a new song. I made a new channel with just my music. And so far, it's just stuff I've recorded in the past. I'm going to be recording all of my songs that have never been recorded before from the past 10 years. And starting with my new one, I have a new song called Hello Listener. It's a good song. It's fun. I love my songs. I can't even think of them as my songs anymore, not since I've been saved. You know, it's a funny thing to say that I've been saved and acknowledge that I've been in sin. What, my channel, Forge Lloyd? I forgot what it's called. I think it's Simon Wordsworth. The last letter is an F. Do you understand? I thought you had already subscribed to it because it was you and Mr. Z who had encouraged me to post my music in my last live stream. So thank you for that, brother. You encouraged me. Glad to see you around again, Shujin. And I don't know, I need to get out of my head, I need to get out of my way, and just do things as they come to me. I have nothing but time. I need to record music. I need to take care of my house and my property. And I need to show y'all some stuff. All right, I'm going to go pressure wash my balcony. So God bless you, my friends. Oh, let me take a look at what y'all have said before I go. Corzo is a nut. They carve it has MOHS, hardness of 2.5, used to make buttons. It's pretty nice looking. A wonky diet can make you super weak. Yeah, Forge. I don't know. I've been trying to stay away from sugar, thinking sugar bad, but then I'm like, hold on, maybe I need more sugar. But I've been having lactose, like a lot of lactose. And I'm not like lactose intolerant. I'm like, lactose. Lactose has always been a big staple of my diet. I love dairy. Just accept hardships as the pathway to peace. You're right. You're right. You're right. Here, I'll tell you real quick why I'm alone. I had my wife's parents and brother living with me. They were living in a trailer in Georgia with no automobile, no running water, no lights, and a rat infestation. And I couldn't let that be, so I moved them into my house. I had her whole family living with me for 6 months. It didn't work. I had to evict her brother. And her mom didn't like that. She should have been sympathetic. Dude, it was a bad situation. But anyway, you know how women are? So her brother left, and then her mom had become hysterical, and her mom and her dad were going to leave. And then my wife got mad at me the day before her parents moved out because her mom stole something from me on Friday. She stole from me. And then my wallet went missing on Saturday. And I had implied that she might have taken it. And so, on a whim, she moved out the next day. Right? You know how women, they get emotional and they do things that don't make no sense? She packed up all her stuff and moved across the country the next day. And then she regretted it. So, like, we're fine. We're still fine. But, like, she did the stupid woman thing where she let her emotions literally carry her away. But we have plans for her to come back. And, you know, I was mad at her. This is what brought on my prolonged sin. Because I was so rattled. I was really rattled by this. But she and I are okay, and she's gonna come home. Her dad is not well. She doesn't think he's gonna live to see next year, so she's taking care of him. But she wants to come home. It's so hard to forgive. I need to forgive my brother-in-law, and I do. Whenever he left, I looked in my trash can and I found 42 bottles of liquor. That's why things were out of hand. 42 of them. Forgiveness, patience, be a peacemaker. I try. And things happen that we don't understand, y'all. But that's okay. It's not for us to understand. It's for us to get over it and have faith that if we do get over it, if we do forgive the people who hurt us, knowing that they only hurt us because they are in sin. It's sin that hurts us. If somebody is hurting you, it's because they're being hurt by their sin. All suffering comes from sin. And so, I don't know, I'm trying to stabilize. But here's the thing. Preaching the gospel, communicating with you, preaching the gospel, and serving people it makes me forget about sinning. My want for pleasure disappears when I keep the word of the Lord in my mouth. And when I keep my hands busy creating and serving. So, I mean, if you're down, do something. Theon, God, to do. To create is his power. Look for that power in yourself. Go make something better. Go clean the mirror. Go mop the floor. Go weed eat. Hey, Bunai Cat. Yeah, here I am. Bunai Cat, I was looking at your channel earlier, thinking about you. But now I've got time. So let me tell you, I love music. I love it so much. I was a worship leader at a Baptist church over here for 3 months, and I quit being a worship leader so that I could focus on my YouTube channel, because I wanted to go live on Sundays, because I was spending all this time during the week making videos. Dude, I was posting like more or less than 5 videos a day. And it was coming between me and my wife. And so that's why I quit being a worship leader, so I could be with my wife during the week and post content on Sundays. But here's the thing, a worship leader, what does it mean? A worship leader is not the pastor, it's the person who sings the songs, who leads the church in song, in praising the Lord in song. Here's the thing about music, brothers and sisters. It brings people together like nothing else. All things are energy, are vibration. Music is vibration. If you can have good sounds with a good rhythm and melody, and these things bring people together. I saw some band play at a wedding recently, and they were playing nasty, dirty stuff like Kid Rock. And I'm seeing the happiest middle-aged women, and they getting on the floor, and they loving it. Ooh, everybody feeling it. What if good things were entering their ears while they were feeling the good energy? What if it was all good? So that's how I want to, that's one of my next steps. I've been playing guitar for 10 years. I've been writing songs for 20 years. And God's been feeding me songs since last autumn. What I mean by that is, like, after I became a worship leader, not after, maybe like a couple months before, I would be at work and then I would just start singing a new song, a song I never sung before. One of them I recorded, Love Only Peace. Well, I recorded more than that. On my music channel at Simon Wordsworth, no video, blank screen, because I've been radicalized. Do y'all know how radical I am? Let me tell you how I've been radicalized by a man called Jesus Christ. And there's a thing called the Second Commandment. Ever heard of it? It doesn't say thou shalt not make any graven image. Technically it does. But it also says you should not make any image. You should depict no thing, nothing. And so I'm actually thinking about taking all my content in that direction, blank screen, voice only. What you think about that? No. Yes? It depends. It depends. I mean, because look, it depends on whether. So Forge Lloyd asks, "Is the imagination evil?" Not necessarily. Evil is evil. That the imagination is not a depiction. It's in your mind. It's coming from God. Crew, why'd you come back? Dude, I've been here. Jeff, I have half a dozen channels. I didn't go nowhere. I just deleted one of my channels. The reason I deleted my channel, like, main reason, there are a few things. I mean, I need to be more active in the world and not just on the internet. But my channel was, it took a lot of my time, and it had been arrested. It had been totally arrested, and it was no longer profitable. It wasn't reaching anybody new. But here's the thing. I have this new channel. A new channel. It might be new. I don't know. I don't think I made a new channel. Almost everybody I was engaging with regularly on my 9,000 sub channel is here. I knew that the people who I'm engaging with are going to find me. And here you are. So just a reset. Okay, so there's a Hebrew letter called Pei. There's a Hebrew letter called Nun. Nun means sun. It's a drawing of a seed. And there's a letter called Pei, which means scatter. It's a drawing of a pipe. This is an old method of scattering seeds. You put the seed in the pipe, the breath, which is the spirit, scatters the sun. So, delete old channel, redistribute content between multiple channels. That's what I have done. I admire Hello Listener's production quality also. He told me that he uses OBS, I think. And so I've gotten OBS, but I haven't spent a lot of time. I'm going to get a setup like his, and I'm going to copy what he's doing precisely, and I'm going to change my channel name to Hello Listener, and that would be so funny. That would be the funniest thing. How funny would it be if I totally copy his aesthetic and I change my channel name to Hello Listener and then I surpass him in subscribers? That would be the funniest thing ever. Yeah, steal his whole channel. And he always jokes that that's what he does. And so that's where I got the idea. Okay, so if this guy is just aggregating all the best things that he's found, I just take all of it. No, but that ain't my style though. I mean the aesthetic thing. I like reality. He's more into virtual reality, which is fine. I like aesthetics. I like sitting in the woods, but I do appreciate the high production level. He loves his podcast. He loves that show. And it comes through. What a silly guy. All right, let me catch up with chat. Shujin, doing podcasts 7 years, still under 1,000 views monthly. To be fair, the show is far from being spot on, haha, plus the French. Shujin, I had a conversation with a Protestant this weekend, the iconography point. On my part, I'll be for iconography, not against. Dude, my point, my position, it's not my position. The freaking second commandment says don't depict anything. Here I have pictures of my family and paintings of nature, and it's so hard to sever ourselves from the world, isn't it? But here's the thing, like, the world's so beautiful, you want to reconstruct it, but it's like, why redo anything? I wonder about, like, I love to watch nature documentaries. I like to see the creation. Is it an infringement of the second commandment to watch a nature documentary? It's not a depiction, it's a broadcast or a recording or whatever. But here, there's a new covenant also. Don't forget about the new covenant, okay? So it's easy to get wrapped up in the old covenant. We all forget a new covenant. All right, Shujin. M, water, chaos, mighty, blood, water. O, add, secure, hook. O, I don't know why O. That would be the wall. Tent peg. None, seed, continue, air, sun. Yeah. E, okay, so that's Yud, the letter Y. Hand, work, throw, worship. Just copy pasted this here. Doesn't know if it'll translate, but this, what I wrote on our argument about money. I mean, that's more or less accurate. Bunai Cat, dude, I had the craziest supernatural day today when you show up, then you show up at 11 p.m. Tell us about your supernatural day. I'm supposed to be pressure washing, you guys. Bunai Cat, are you from London? Got a 1 hour, 30-minute video unreleased on it, but I could not simplify it enough, I suppose you're going to say. 11 p.m. where you at? Somewhere in Albion. Money. Y'all ever heard of moneta? So I have this idea about money. There's a thing in Egypt. Ancient Egypt was divided into nomarchs. The nomarch was the person presiding over, what's it called? What's it divided into? Nomen. Dude, okay, look it up. It was geographically divided into nomen, which is cognate with the word name and number. The nomen was presided over by a nomarch. From the way that a nomen is described, it seems to be a region of, like, a distribution region. The hub of a mercantile civilization. You know how they like to switch around words? I suspect that monarch doesn't just come from a word for one. I think it's a reversal of nomarch. Yeah. A monarchy is a, what do you call it? Not just someone who presides over a place, but who is presiding over a mercantile operation. Pardon me for being inarticulate. I think Derek Prince said anything accrued in your house, not directly concerning spiritual life, is from Satan and an icon. I'm very guilty of that, if that's the case. Yeah, me too. Well, what's it called? I'm just totally inarticulate. Which one of you took my words? Why can't I articulate all of a sudden? Materialism is satanic, right? I love to go to thrift stores and antique stores and... Dude, let me show you this freaking chair I bought. It's covered in cat fur now, but... Layla, I just bought this coffee table. Like, they got these folding chairs. Look at this freaking chair. How ridiculous that is. That's the timeout chair. This is the new guitar. Her name is Ella. So I need to go and play music for people and bring the gospel to them. And I'm going to mix in some songs that the Lord gave me with some beloved covers. And I love to sing. I love to entertain people. Like I'm a performer. And then I grow up and I find Jesus and I find out that the world is owned by performers, that we have all been duped and we have all been brought into a performance, and that we are governed by performers, and that performers are like the most evil sons of bitches on earth. And here I am. Well, I come from those people, apparently. But anything is good if it's for God, right? Hey, Emily. Yeah, I am. So when I wrote what you refer to as the Hello Listener song, it was right after Pasquale. And it's when he said some mean things about me and he hurt my feelings. And I wrestled with that for a little bit. I was like, what? I thought we were friends. But it's a good song. It's not a bad song. I try really hard to only let good things come out of me. I used to be the most rotten person. Thank you, Emily. Shujin says, bro, you're quoting Renee Guénon? What is Renee Guénon? Have you read Reign of Quantity and Signs of the Times? No, Bunaikat, I have not. I don't know. I need to let y'all go. I need to go pressure wash. It's... Oh, you like my clock? It's going on 6 o'clock. I'm really no good at playing guitar. Let's see, I can't find your Simon Wordsworth channel for the life of me. I don't know. If any of you are subscribed to my music channel, please drop it in the chat. I have very... Okay, I'm going to show you every chord I know. But here's the thing, like, I don't know a lot of strumming. I'm not good at strumming. I could play E minor, C, G, D, A minor, A, B. I don't know. I'm really basic. So I got this. It's an acoustic electric, and so I plug it into my amp, and it's just so weird because I could hear it. Like I could play it and have the distortion and all of that if I want to, but then I also hear the acoustic. I hear the acoustics, and it's like I hope this sounds better when I'm like at a venue. Let me show you my new hat. When I see this hat, I see Bar Abba. If you don't know, in Hebrew, the bet in modern Hebrew is pronounced as a B. BR is bar, AVE is Abba. Bar Abba, Son of God. America is the land of the Amorites. Did y'all see that ChatGPT thing I posted? America is the land of the Amorites. Hello, let me tell you something ridiculous. I don't know how to play any of my songs. Isn't that retarded? I'm retarded. I wish I could do what Tony does. I used to mess around with Fruity Loops, and it was just atrocious. I just made the most atrocious things. I've never been not retarded. Retarded. Me neither, man. I can't relate to people who aren't totally retarded. Normally, those kinds of people don't like me. Oh, my guitar's out of tune. Yeah, I'm gonna set this down. So, okay, back to the book. Whenever I choose to, I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna read chapter 2. I'm gonna read chapter 3. I'm gonna finish the Nazi portion of that book, and then I'm probably gonna do the communist portion of it. I read the fascist part. I read the Nazi part. Never read the commie part. Never read that. I ordered 2 books recently on the grammar of Sanskrit and the grammar of Dutch. So that's going to be very cool. So I'll go now. I'm having so much fun. Forge Lloyd, email me. Okay, thanks, bye.